Welcome to the webinar on discovering the power of your influence. I think you'll find this interesting. You're going to see some trends that we've noticed over the last few months. We also highlight how we work with influencers and the strategy behind it and the execution of a campaign. And then we also add a case study. And at the end, we're going to go through a demonstration of a live site. So key things is what we've noticed over the last few months. This is very recent, is some interesting trends with influencers. And one of them is that millennials are setting the example. The age group under 35 understand how to share information. They understand the impact of that. It's how they read information. And they're highly motivated by social, and they carry their social networks on their phone. And they trust the brands less than they trust their peers. Number two is that from a shopping standpoint, an economic standpoint, people are looking at a lot of information to make a purchase decision. The stat is 10.4 sources before they actually execute on a purchase. It's a journey that they take. And a lot of the customers that are looking at purchasing in the retail area specifically are talking about the products online. They're reading reviews. They're reading what posts are made. And a lot of the influencer posts that are being presented are enabling purchase decisions and becoming an important part of the entire landscape for purchase, especially in the retail sector. Influencer marketing is exploding. We've seen a lot of interest in influencer marketing as a channel. As a media channel, companies are starting to see how connecting with true brand advocates and creating a relationship with them and having a database of that is creating a very effective strategy overall to be able to enable information to be distributed in a timely way, but also through social networks. We've all heard of fake news in the last little bit, but it's fighting back, and social followers believe posts from peers and social influencers more than those from traditional media. A really surprising statistic that quite a change in the whole public relations area, traditional news area. So providing accurate, valuable information through influencers and or their peers is a really good way of disseminating content that might want to be distributed through social media and through blogs, etc. That would be helpful in getting information out and building the brand. Trend number 5 is employee advocacy. Employees love the brands they work for. At least most of them do, and posts are trusted more than those from the company. So getting information out through employees is a valuable way of building not only team, but understanding and pushing out content that would be helpful in building the brand of the organization that you're part of. And then finally, good storytelling, which most bloggers understand and those involved in influencer marketing understand. But social storytelling is helping to really engage audiences in a significant way today. And part of that is the technology that's been enabled, but best exemplified by Instagram stories, which is now used by over 100 million users are using the stories component of Instagram, which of course was launched and originally used by Snapchat. And they've just copied some of that technology and added it to one of probably the most powerful platforms today on social media in many ways is Instagram. So this is a little video highlighting the use of influencers, especially in the B2B side, I thought would be helpful to understand.
If you are not working with influencers as part of your content marketing strategy, I'd recommend that's the first thing you can do to help take your content to the next level. It's really important to partner with these people, whether they're speakers, authors, well-known people in the industry, if they're followed on social media, because ultimately these are the people that your target audience is looking to for information.
Recently, we joined forces across our entire marketing and communications organization. And so instead of working within a siloed, kind of pure marketing disciplined area, we have amassed a group of influencers. And the influencers include our business partners, IT analysts, independent bloggers, many of whom are compensated actually for their unique point of view and perspective on a particular area.
We're building up loyalty and we're building up retention, particularly our core users. They already love the product. Now you have to give them a story that they can use. It's one thing to just say, I love SaaS or I love statistics, but they have to be able to have the meat of the story that you want them to use so that they can pass it on to others. And particularly with the core users, they are the people who influence the buyers, the people who purchase the software. So they have to have those words to be able to sell it up.
Start with a group of 5 to 10 influencers. You have to read their content, follow them on social media channels to ensure that it is in fact a good fit for your brand and for your audience. Are they talking to the same pain points that you are for your target audience? Are they talking to the same opportunities or interests that your target audience has? Once those things align, then you know you really have found the right influencer or person to connect with and start creating some great content.
At one of our SaaS users groups conferences, we did an innovation wall, and we asked our users to write on a giant Post-it note how they use SaaS in an innovative way. We took those Post-it notes, and I took a photograph of each of those notes. And for the last 18 months, I've taken that photograph and posted it on my blog, wrote a lead telling what that innovative use is. And then below the picture, I've talked about other SaaS user papers from conferences that show how that innovation is also used by other users, and then ask them, how are you using it? So you're asking them again to tell their story of how they're using the software, how they're using it innovatively outside the box.
Ultimately, the benefits of incorporating influencer marketing into a content strategy are very great, largely because these people can provide a third-party validation stamp on the great content you are creating, and they'll also help promote it for you so you can get your content out to the audiences that you want.
All right, just a really good expose and update on how influencers are being used in the B2B setting. What we've probably seen mostly is B2C, but I wanted to highlight that video to show how good content can be distributed effectively through the B2B side. I'm just going to go through five steps for effective influencer marketing. Number one is obviously identification, identifying expert influencers, but generating awareness through amplifiers. And not all influencers are the same, and obviously some have subject matter expertise. They're good writers, and they would be able to write the original content or original posts that would be used, and then typically amplifiers would use their social networks and the power of those social networks to distribute that content through their networks. So that would be number one. Number two is activating those influencers and their followers. And that could be through an engagement, could be through a link to a sign up to a webinar. It could be any number of things that would engage that and activate those particular influencers. And then automating the process. Managing and automating everything from notifying influencers to gathering contacts to sending out emails to follow up, all that really supports what we call automation to take the burden out of setting up a campaign and mobilizing a significant number of influencers to distribute content and making that work for your organization. Also, the analytics, key thing both for influencers and the brands that are working with them is the influencers are able to get their own metrics in terms of how they performed for the campaign, but also the brand is able to get an aggregate view of how all the influencers have done. You'll see that later in the demo that we're going to show you. And then finally, where possible, capturing a full ROI. An example of that would be an e-commerce site where we capture actual results from that, or maybe possibly with a promo code, you can bring a full resolution on and a 360 view on the economic impact of the influencer over the period of the campaign. And all of that to help discover the power of influence and the power of individual influencers and their networks and the power of an aggregate group of influencers working for a brand. Part of what we do in Maven is really understand the public and the private view of the influencer. So whether it be the demographics or whether it be the reach or whether it be their audience profile and who their audience is, the geography of their audience, what are the top 5 cities that they're involved in, what's the percentage breakdown, you'll see that a little bit later. Also areas of expertise, and then finally, where are they involved in traditional media? Are they involved in TV, radio, newspaper? What other elements could we employ the influencers to be able to reach out and express content in the marketplace and measure what they've done? So one of the things that is key is the whole area of measurement, and we've heard this many, many times over with our advisors. We have an advisory group of influencers that we work with, and obviously measurement is one of the top things that is now being formed in a proper audit, and that's everything from the engagement, the reach, the impressions, clicks, and even ad equivalency. And that can be all measured in real time. And some of the things that we look at specifically is the impressions from social media and their blog, their network reach on all social media, the number of clicks they have achieved on a particular campaign, hashtag tracking for both Twitter and Instagram, and understanding the impressions and earned media and the comments and reviews from those platforms, looking at audience demographics, as we shared, looking at the purchases or offers selected, and then finally an engagement score. So, but that's a subset of an overall engagement strategy that a brand may want to carry out. And it contains many things. This is just an example of a strategy that would use a number of different channels to build traffic and a number of different engagements to be able to build awareness. And so as an example, on the media side, to generate traffic to a website or to an event, you would have influencers, which are obviously paid as part of the mix, social sharing, which obviously could be enabled. A lot of that could be organic or earned media. You can have a link from print and traditional, which we call earned media again, and that could be a hashtag on a television program that they can go on and engage with, say, on Twitter. But we could also put a Pearl link on a print media piece and track additional amplification from print media, like a direct mail piece. Social ads and emails also being used, which is their own media, and putting up a pop-up, say, for example, on their website to generate organic web traffic and encourage people coming to the website to engage, capture their emails, and so on and so forth. So, example of 4 engagements. One is a pop-up that would appear on the website. This is usually typically offer geared, where they might get 10% off when they enter their email and another 10% off when they share with their friends. So you're getting one person engaging on the website, but then sharing it with their friends and drawing other people in and not having to pay additional fees to drive traffic. Very powerful way to do that. And we've seen close to 10 times the response rate on this over not having a pop-up on the site. 2 is an influencer app, which we're gonna go into detail in the demo on, which is basically a referral system, content delivery system, and measurement tool. All of that information can be captured in a content hub. So influencers are writing original content. They're making original posts. They're creating some really valuable content. People are commenting, reviewing. All of that can be added to the content hub and used by the brand to manage content efficiently from user-generated content that's being produced by influencers and their followers. And finally, a fast way to build a database of emails, which is incredibly useful today. and still very strong in the whole digital ecosystem, capturing emails and segmenting that with a contest. And all of that is automatically connected into MailChimp, so where we can, or any other system for that matter, where we can send out nurturing emails to follow up. But all of that is being pushed to the main site that where a purchase decision can be made, or information to make a purchase, or sign up is there. And then finally, of course, getting the ROI from all channels and influencers as a result. So part of what makes influencer marketing not as effective, we haven't always been able to capture audience metrics from the influencer. So here's an example where, as part of a strategy, we know on the left-hand side that the particular e-commerce site, the gender, age, marital status, etc., is on the left, and then we have on the right-hand side one particular influencer and their audience. So we try to match where we can, or it's helpful to have this information so we can see if there's a match. And generally, this is a pretty good match. It's not a perfect match, but generally a good match that helps us match a buyer to, or a customer to, what the audience is of the influencer. This is a case study for influencers, and it just highlights the impact and the significant impact of influencers on a particular campaign. Number one, we identify the influencers, and that could be done through sentiment, hashtags, and very simply, that's what we did on this campaign. We used hashtags to find particular YouTube followers and YouTube people that were involved in this campaign. And then you can also use engagement. And engagement is a very useful way of understanding who your influencers are organically, by engaging them in a campaign and then using them to highlight the which ones did the best in a particular campaign. And then in number C, you can use a database that we have, or you can use an outside database, companies that just focus on this, like Scrunch. Highly recommend them. They've done a very good job in building a database of over 25 million influencers globally. That's very up to date. So there's just some highlights of how to identify those influencers. Number two, we activate them. So in this case, we found two influencers. In fact, there was three, but I'm highlighting two. One is Peruse and the other one Cassidy. And there are two influencers on YouTube that we've activated via an email and made contact with them. And then what we did is we provided influencers with a retail offer for their followers. So in this case, it was $5 in cash that they could use on the e-commerce site to purchase books, and another $5 for sharing. So a total of $10 if they entered their name and they shared. So this is a very simple offer, nothing complicated at all, but it performed very well. And it gave the influencers something to offer their followers right on their website, and a link to click on, which was their individual link, managing what they did and how they performed specifically. And then automating that whole process by using tools that we've embedded into Maven to track out and disperse information, notify them of where the content is, where they can pick up their links, and all that type of thing. And then also push the content out to influencers. You can see there's boxes there where the content and the images are added, and they're able to better understand how well they did, and a simple way to pick up content and links for dispersal on their social networks. Now, the one thing we pride ourselves in is the analytics. So here's what we have is we have measure of all influence in real time from all the influencers. And this is a funnel from reach, impressions, visits, contacts, opt-ins, and orders all the way through. Not all cases are we measuring orders and sales. We might be just measuring reach and impressions and visits. So it depends on the campaign, whether it's an awareness campaign or an acquisition-based campaign, but both can be managed. And then we're able to give individual influencers an understanding of how well they did on the campaign itself. Part of the analytics is understanding the viral impact of a campaign and the ROI of the campaign. So here's an example of viral display of how one person influenced many other individuals, and then also the ROI. So in this case, we see orders that were captured from this individual, and also influenced orders that came in. So truly managing and understanding the revenue impact from influencers as well, which is the ROI. So as a brand, you have insight on the whole campaign. You have insight on how everybody performed, and there's quite a bit of a nice reporting that rolls up to better understand how all this occurred for the brand itself, or a company or organization that wants to understand how the campaign went. Specifically on the influencer side, I'm drilling into one of the reports here, the aggregate reports, and you can see that Reagan, Cassidy, and Giselle brought 11% of the results in terms of sales. And Reagan herself brought in 4,392. I just happen to know the number of emails that were brought in through this one person. Through their YouTube channel, it was over 3,000. So quite an impact from Reagan in terms of what she has performed over a 9-day period, Black Friday, and then altogether how they all did as influencers on a particular campaign. So as a 9-day campaign, some roll-up numbers is 79,000 with a sales number the previous year. This year, and this is a pretty substantial e-commerce site, generated 280,000. Now I need to disclose that some of the 280,000 came from emails that were sent out, but they in turn shared. They in turn posted the information organically. So some of that was their own media driving that, but net new sales via the program that were not from existing customers getting emails, but net new sales was still 120,000, which is greater than the original sales from last year. And influencers and social media accounted for a total of 14% in the 9-day period. So 14% of the total sales. So some pretty spectacular results overall. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the pricing. We're coming out with a brand new UI UX in February of 2017 this year, so just a few weeks away. You're going to see brand new branding and the UI UX, which is the user experience and user interface on Maven for the influencers, is going to be dramatically improved based on input from our advisors. And so that's including the profile that you'll get and all the experience that you'll have inside the app itself. We've also updated our pricing, and we've come in with aggressive pricing. So Maven Lite, 12 months is $99. That includes managing a campaign, tracking everything from social reach right through to impressions and clicks. This will also include hashtag tracking for Instagram and Twitter, although Twitter's coming out in March. That will be included in there. The audience demographics are extra. However, as part of this webinar promotion, we're including audience demographics from Twitter for up to 10 influencers if you like, for the Maven Lite if you sign up within a few days of the webinar for the $99 a month. We're also willing to set that up and brand it for you. Again, at no charge, no setup. It's strictly a $99 a month on contract over 12 months. The influencer automation is what the brand would use to administer a campaign, or a network, influencer network would use to manage a campaign of more than one influencer. And the marketing and influencer tool, which is $4.99 a month, includes a management of all the campaign type models and the marketing automation, such as a contest or a landing page or a microsite and so on and so forth. That's included in that price point. But just for a simple influencer to use this and track what they do, it's $99, and that's also free for 30 days. So really nice pricing on that. I think very competitive in today's market, and giving you extensive access to analytics on how a campaign did, and reporting for your particular clients that you're working with. So I'm going to flip over to a live demo in just a few minutes. Thank you.